It's a pleasure to have you here today, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brad. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, I first heard about you. I live in St. Louis now, but I grew up in north of Atlanta, Georgia. So I lived there for up until 2020, and then we moved to Louisiana and then to St. Louis. But I heard about you through my pal, Mr. Mark Mundy, who's the brother to Matt.
That's right.
Yeah, and I know you guys, I think, probably met a few times when you guys played at Good Old Days with...
That's right. Yeah, Steve Berryhill's place over in Cumming, Georgia. Yeah, that's right.
That's it. So, Mark turned me on to you, and I just couldn't get enough of the way you played, especially playing with Jeff, and just amazing playing. So
thanks very much. I try and keep up with Jeff, but I never have before. So always kicked my ass across the stage, and it's always been really good for me. He's one of my best pals, and we're going to do some more playing towards the end of this year.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, when we were lining this up, you were saying that you were about to go out on the road. What went up?
Well, I've got a lot of little short trips coming up in June, and I've got actually a family thing that I got to get to over Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
But then starting in June, I'm going to be hitting the road a little bit with a really brilliant Hammond B3 player, Ty Bailey, and this great drummer, Mark Rodabaugh. And we've been getting together recently and working up some organ trio stuff and having a blast with that. Ty plays with all kind of greats, including a lot of years with Katy Perry. And Mark Rodabaugh is another old friend of mine from Atlanta. And I actually lived in Marietta for about 2 years.
Okay, cool.
Probably around 2014, 15, somewhere in there. And I've known Mark for a long time. I would see him at festivals. He's a great drummer. He used to play with Donna the Buffalo. And so I would see him out on the road. But now for the last many years, he's been playing with Sierra Hull, this amazing mandolin player.
Yes. Yeah. Sierra's amazing. And I know you've done some stuff with her as well, right?
Yeah, I did probably a year and a half of playing in her touring band right up until the pandemic.
Okay. Yeah. The only time I think I've ever seen you play live, you guys did a triple bill. This was when you were with Jerry. I had just moved to St. Louis and drove out to Jefferson City, and it was you guys and Sam Bush and Bela doing the tour. And I don't know how many triple bill shows you guys did, but that was pretty amazing. It felt like it was about 300 degrees out there that day, but it was still really good.
I remember that show. That was a great time. And actually, there's a post right behind my screen over here. There's a poster with all the dates on it. So let me see. There were nine triple bills with that lineup. Yeah. And that was called the Bluegrass Happening Tour. And that was part of Bela Fleck's rollout of his My Bluegrass Heart album.
Yeah. It's really funny, man. I was so excited to go hear Bela and, that great band he had put together. But I was sending Mark videos of you playing the whole time, like, listen to Mike. It was so good, man. Just what you guys were doing.
Man, thanks a lot. That was a really fun tour. That actually had a huge impact on me just to be around. I've been playing with Jerry for a long time and was friends with a lot of the guys adjacent to him. But that was my first time actually being on the road with Bela's band and the whole entourage and traveling together in 3 buses to each venue and getting to hang out with him in his green room and talk music with him and play with him. That was like dream come true for me because I've been listening to him since I was in high school.
Yeah, I get the sense that he has a very well-oiled touring machine when he goes out.
He does.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah, no stone is unturned. It's very organized, and the whole operation went really smoothly, actually.
Yeah. So when we may bounce around a little bit, but I'm curious about what took you to Atlanta and what was that experience like for you?
Well, I had lived in Knoxville for 10 years. I grew up in Virginia. I moved to Knoxville for college and went to UT for a bit, about 3 years in their music program. But almost immediately got out on the road with Jeff Coffin, the saxophone player.
Yeah.
And he kind of threw me into a lineup with a great band. And I found myself touring a lot. And also with Jeff Sipe around that time. He would come over to Knoxville and we would play. But the reason I moved to Atlanta around 2013 is my wife, or at that time, girlfriend, was living there. And she had just moved from Knoxville back to Georgia, where she's from. And so I thought, hey, Atlanta's a good music city. And I knew a lot of guys down there. It's funny, though. I was on the road the whole time, so I didn't really do much stuff locally. But made some good friends down there. And I enjoyed my 2 years.
Yeah, Atlanta has a good music scene. Has a great music scene, and
so many great players. I used to play with Ike Stubblefield a lot. I don't know if you remember him, the organ player.
I do remember Ike. Yeah,
drive down from Knoxville in my early 20s and play in his organ trio at Northside Tavern. Yeah, and then I would drive right back home to Knoxville. So it'd be like 8 hours of driving, and the gig was from like midnight until 2 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 2 a.m.
think one of my good friends, Steve Cunningham, played with Ike as well. Another good guitar player.
Yeah, I've met Steve before.
Yeah, he's a great player.
I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, he's great. He plays in this very big, and he plays with everyone around town still, but he plays in this band that they're like the official band for the Atlanta Braves. So they play all of these outdoor things leading up to all the home Atlanta Braves games. So yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
and
he's a big baseball fan like I am. So I'm sure he's loving life getting to do that.
Well, I won't tell you that I'm a Phillies fan then. Yeah.
Well, I hate that we have to cut this short, man.
Yeah, I know. It's been nice talking to you.
You guys went into first place as of last night.
Man, I'm a fair weather fan. No, my dad was from Philadelphia, so we grew up going to Veterans Stadium and going up to games and stuff. So
okay, that's great.
Inherited, but I never lived there.
Yeah. So tell me about. I guess as I'm hearing you play, there's like. I hear a lot of deep roots in all kinds of music, and you're playing, and it to me it sounds like you pull from many deep wells of different styles of music. Were you hearing a lot of different music growing up? What brought you to playing?
Thank you. Yes, I was exposed to a lot of great stuff as a kid. My parents always had music in the house and on the radio in the car. My older brother is a massive influence on me playing. He owns a music store in Waynesboro, Virginia, called Waynesboro Music. And he played guitar at an early age, so I wanted to do that because he was doing it. But we were learning like Mel Bay method from a piano teacher, actually, just learning to read. But at home, we were listening to everything. We were really into rock and roll, and we had a growing tape cassette collection when we were little kids that turned into a CD collection. And we used to order our 10 discs from BMI every month that we had on this form we would fill out. And we couldn't wait to walk out to the mailbox every day and see if they'd showed up. So we were, a lot of stuff. And with my family, my grandfather lived in southwestern Virginia and was a gospel guitar player who played in churches on Sunday and had a band called the Mountain Melody Singers. And they put out a bunch of tape cassette albums. Yeah. And he was a great picker, in the sort of bluegrass gospel parlance. Mm-hmm. So we were just around it all the time. My mom played piano and sang. And so we were on piano lessons and guitar really early. And my dad loved the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead and Eric Clapton and all kind of great guitar stuff. So
you're hearing everything, right? You were hearing everything. Like it was, I'm sure you were a sponge getting to hear all of these different styles,
I was really lucky. And I think one of the big pivot points was in high school. I had this teacher, Mark Wetzel, who's still up there in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And he actually works with my brother in the shop a lot of the times doing guitar setups and things like that. But this guy was brilliant on being able to teach music theory without getting too bogged down in it. A really pragmatic method of teaching and developing ear training. So one of the first assignments he gave me was transcribe Miles Davis solo from So What off the Kind of Blue album, which is a really friendly solo to transcribe for the first time. I had never written anything to paper. So start with that. And then every lesson I would show up, he'd hand me a stack of CDs. And it would be Mike Stern, Michael Brecker, Pat Metheny, John Schofield, Bill Frisell, you name it, any of them. So
yeah, that's awesome to have. And I've had these teachers along the way that push you, and I guess at the time you don't even realize that they are the way they do it, that you don't realize that they're pushing you maybe out of your comfort zone and trying new things. Because I mean, you were doing piano lessons, so I'm sure you understood the basics of music theory, but this was probably taking it in a much different direction, right?
Sure enough. And, I understood reading pretty well throughout my childhood. And when I was about 14, I heard this guy playing in a guitar store, and he was playing jazz stuff, these beautiful voicings and all this cool standards and stuff. And he just had a really effortless command of chord melody. And I heard that and I went, I want to know how to do that. And so I go in there in the first lesson, he kind of was skeptical, and I'm looking at, E13 and saying, what is that? Is that you add 7 and something else to make how does this even work? Right. But he was really quickly able to disseminate that stuff to me, where chord names come from and things like that.
Do you find yourself in a lot of situations these days where you're relying on reading, or is it mostly just kind of going
every once in a while? Not often, and it depends on the context. Like playing with Jerry Douglas Band for 8 years, not really. Although sometimes his tunes are plenty complex. So there have been times that I've charted out new stuff just as an aid for myself. But even in the studio, try and rely on my ear and memorize the songs quickly. And I'll use a chord chart if it can help.
Yeah.
In some scenarios, every once in a while, if I'm doing jazz stuff here in town, I've been able to play with a lot of the great sort of guys here there's a cool scene in Nashville of sort of jazz players, and they might call a Kurt Rosenwinkel tune or something like that. So I've had to read some stuff with that, and I enjoy it. And actually recently you interviewed Victor Krauss, I believe.
I did. Yeah.
He he asked if we would play an Eric Satie tune, the famous one. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Gymnast PDA or whatever it's called. So he had that number 1 and 2. And that was the first time I'd read something for his gig, I think. No, actually, he has a lot of charts for his tunes that I will still read on the gig. We don't play that often, so that's an aid for me to not have to, keep it in the front of my mind when we're not playing for a long time. But we also do a couple Bach things. We do a Bach song with Victor Krause's band that I read.
Yeah, I've checked out some of the videos of you playing with Victor, and I've been a fan of Victor's as well for a long time. And I'm sure it's been pretty cool to get to play with someone that played on some really big Bill Frisell records, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I had those records when I was a kid. So I remember driving over from Knoxville to Nashville in college. This was probably 2004 with a group of music majors that I was friends with, and to see Victor Krause see Bill Frisell play at the Exit Inn with Victor and Kenny Wollesen on drums.
Man, yeah, Victor's such a good player, and what I was going to say is I really enjoy what you guys do together. I think you both bring out a different side to each other when you guys get to play, and it feels like you guys have played together for probably many more years than you actually have.
Thanks for saying. That's how I feel on stage with him. He's really easy to play with, and I think I've done this gig with him for over a 3-year period now. But maybe only 6 times a year or something like that. So, but it's been a joy for me. I love his musical brain. It's insane.
You mentioned I'm a big Matheny guy, and I have been since I was a teenager, and have been lucky enough to have a couple of guys from the Matheny group on the podcast, which has been a really cool thing.
I saw you had Paul Wertico.
I had Paul Wertico on, and I recently had David Blameyers, who was the singer in the group when they did like Still Life Talking. He's the guy singing all this stuff on that.
Awesome.
Which was really cool. I'm just curious, is it Matheny across the board? Do a lot of folks lean toward the trio stuff, or is it everything for
It's
you?
all of it for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I started with like Bright Size Life and, very guitar lesson centric side of his playing. Right. My guitar teacher was introducing this stuff to me. And of course it's a good starting point. But question and answer, I had, his solo records, but I didn't hear about Pat Metheny Group until a couple of years into digesting his other stuff. And again, this is CDs and going to the CD store. And this is at the time when you could actually sample records. Right. Yeah. So, which is like a very brief little snapshot in history, I think, because it quickly went to streaming not too long after that.
Yeah.
Or at least, MP3s and digital players. But yes, I love the Metheny Group stuff. I bought a DVD from Barnes & Noble when I was in high school that I still have today. And my wife found an old DVD player for like $7 at a Goodwill, hooked it up. I don't have the remote for it, so I can only listen to it the whole way through. And that's fine. But I have Pat Metheny Group live somewhere. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but it's Paul's on there with them. Of course, Lyle Mays was still alive, and it's just such a cool, and they interview the guys in between tracks. And Lyle Mays is kind of like, it's a big sacrifice to be out here on the road, to leave your family and to do this. It's like, I'm really glad to be here, but it's a big sacrifice. I seeing that as a 40-year-old now, I really appreciate it. I was like, he's talking real talk right there.
Yeah, he's not sugarcoating anything about this experience of playing on the road. That's exactly it. Yeah, man, my son's middle name is Metheny, so that should tell you where that lines up for me. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah, that's great. So I texted Mark and told him that I was going to talk to you, and he said, talk to him about playing the banjo. Did you play the banjo?
Oh, well, not really. I mean, I could pick one up for a second. My older brother, Rob, can play really well. Like, he can do all the Scruggs style. Actually, he was here last week. I don't know if you can see it in the background, but there's a book on the table. That's Bela Fleck. It's the Bluegrass Sessions, volume 2, with all the great, iconic Bela bluegrass songs.
Yes.
And so that's all the banjo transcriptions from it. And my brother was down here for my birthday a couple weeks ago, and we were picking through some of those songs. But I know I wouldn't call myself a banjo player. I can play dobro probably better than I can play a banjo.
Yeah. And
I played dobro in a bluegrass band in Knoxville for a couple years, Mountain Soul, with my good friend Kimbrough, who plays bass for Jerry's band.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, and I know you've probably talked over and over again about your style, but it is it's a unique style. It's not seen as much, but it's seen by some of my favorite players. I was thinking about like Kevin Eubanks, good fingerstyle players.
So cool. Yeah.
What led you down that path of deciding that you were going to play guitar the way that you do? Maybe less being a pick guy,
Yeah, it came from starting guitar at a really early age and taking lessons from a piano teacher who did not play guitar, but who was a brilliant reader. This lady, Nancy Hackman, rest in peace. But she was my teacher from second grade until eighth grade, mostly piano. We would do 45 minutes of piano and 15 minutes of guitar, my brother and I. But in those lessons, she offered virtually no technique, but had, I think, something close to perfect pitch and knew instantly if we played a wrong note. And she could really read the left-hand stuff well on a chart. So what position to play in and what finger to use, what string, but nothing for the picking hand. So at first it was just using my thumb, and even playing at home, using my thumb for single notes. And then I would make a fake pick to try and imitate using a pick. And believe me, I tried holding the picks. We had them. I drop them in the sound hole, and then I'm shaking the thing. And I thought, this is too much. So short answer is I just never learned how. And I can a little, but it slows me down a lot.
Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say that I'm glad that you never figured that it never seemed to come to you, because I think it's opened up the sound that you get and the way that it allows you to comp or to solo. I think it facilitates that in such a wonderful way.
Well, thanks very much. I became aware, especially through lessons, how many great guys there are who do fingerstyle playing, but all have different voices. From, like you mentioned, Kevin Eubanks, he's one of my favorites, and I grew up listening to him in high school as well, thanks to my guitar teacher. I had a bunch of great records that he was on, but he has one of the most unique sounds with that, I think. And of course, I remember from Jay Leno too. But
sure, yeah.
But to compare him to Jeff Beck or Jeff Beck to Derek Trucks, it's just all completely different flavors. And now we got Matteo Mancuso out there just utterly destroying the guitar every time he plays it.
I was going to bring his name up to you. I had assumed that you was certainly hip to his playing. He just knocks me out, man.
It's ridiculous. I know. It's insane. But as far as technique, I think he's one of the guys who's pushed things forward again. And I love that he's got this sort of free stroke, the speed and clarity. But it's also, to me, it reminds me of Jaco Pastorius.
I agree.
You see bass players who can fly with that. And my friend Taylor Lee that plays in the trio with Jeff Sipe, he's got it. A lot of guys have got it. Oh, and the flamenco players like Paco de Lucia, they're also flying with that. And
it's so even, right? It's so consistent. You would, if you were to just to hear it, you would never know what was making that happen, right? It's so smooth.
That's what I'm working on now, is trying to get that going, because I've always been more of a thumb, index, middle, some combination of things, more like a banjo, I guess.
Yeah.
Rolling through stuff, but I'm really trying to unlock that.
Yeah.
That
do you practice a lot? Do you have a lot of shed time?
I used to religiously, probably from when I was 15 until I was like mid 30s or close to that. And then not as much in the last 5 years, but my wife and I moved to a new place out in the woods, and there's a lot of land management going on, and then a lot of road time. And at different phases of life, I found myself practicing more or less, but when I don't for a while, I get this feeling I need to again. Yeah. So I think I'm entering another phase of playing more right now.
Yeah. When we moved here, I basically just kind of put everything down I was just burnt out, if I'm being honest. I was just fried of playing a lot and working as well, and have started picking it up again. And it's those breaks from it, for me at least, it's really nice way to refill the tank,
I agree. Same for me. If I walk away for a while and then I feel this compulsion to go back to it. Mm-hmm. But I'll walk by my guitar sometimes when I have to learn tunes and maybe I don't want to practice that day, and I'll look at it and I just feel like, I don't think so.
Yep. Yeah, I think for me, and I don't know what it's like for you, but I think a lot of the ill feelings I would have for the instrument were for the only time I would pick it up other than on a gig was when I was having to go learn tunes that, and I'm not saying it was for a gig that I didn't want to do, but sometimes it was, if I'm being honest. And, I'm like, there are other things I could be doing in my life right now than having some of that.
I relate to that. And it's funny for me, it'll be the lead up to doing it. That's the hard part. I'll look at the guitar and I don't want to do this right now. And then as soon as I pick it up, I'm like, oh, this is not bad. I love this. I forgot how much I love this.
Yes.
So,
yeah. It's funny. You're talking about you and your wife moving there. I didn't realize until I was doing some homework, getting ready to talk with you, who your wife is. That she's quite an accomplished musician in her own right, isn't she? Wow.
Yeah. She overshadows me in a big way,
man.
But no, I'm really proud of her. She's worked her ass off for 20 plus years, and they get results. Her and her sister are two of the hardest working musicians that I've ever known.
Yeah.
And so every day they're doing it all day long.
Mark and I and our wives they have this big music festival in Bristol every year. And
Rhythm and Roots.
We went a few years ago and saw them. What a festival that is. I mean, we saw Sierra there, then we saw Nickel Creek, we saw Larkin Poe, we saw Bruce Hornsby. It's like, man, that festival checks all the boxes of great musicians.
It's pretty cool right there in downtown Bristol. I've been lucky to play it a bunch of times. Once with Sierra Hull, once with Jerry Douglas, once with this country band, the Black Lilies, and a long time ago when I was still living in Knoxville with an artist called Robinella, who was a successful Americana artist. She used to have a band called Robinella and the CC String Band.
Yeah.
And they played on like the Tonight shows and things like that in the early 2000s. But I always love that festival. I have family that lives right north of there in Abingdon, Virginia.
Yeah. I had never been to Bristol until then. And we were like, wow, what a cool town. And just to walk up and down the street.
Yeah, it's funny. They have a claim on the birthplace of country music there as well, with the radio stations that were operated back then.
Yeah. Funny enough, we actually saw Jeff there because he was doing that tour with Daryl Scott.
Amazing. Oh my God.
Gosh.
Dude,
Daryl was a monster.
He's so good, man. I got to hang out with him at a fundraiser after the storm that hit Asheville that, wrecked the mountains there. We did like an Appalachian fundraising event in Knoxville. My friend Daniel Kimbrough from Jerry's band put the whole thing together. Jerry came and played. We played with, do you know Andy Wood, this crazy shredder guitar player, but also shredder, insane mandolin player. He came out and played. My wife's band played, and Daryl Scott played. And so that was my first time really. I've seen him play a bunch. I saw him down at what's that place in Atlanta? In I think it's Decatur. Is Eddie's Attic? Yeah, I saw him play there a long time ago, and I'd seen Daryl on this Cayamo cruise, this cruise ship festival I've done a few times. Just always revered his singing and playing. His electric playing too is insane.
Man, yeah. And him and Jeff playing together. I mean, Jeff can play with anyone. And
his ears are open. Yes.
Yeah. I saw one of the favorite nights of seeing Jeff play. It was when he toured. I saw him at Smith's in Atlanta. When he was playing with Oz Noy.
Very cool. I would like to hear him play with Oz. That'd be fun.
It was him and James Jennis was playing bass. So you can imagine what was
legendary.
Yeah, it was just. And I've seen Oz with Weckl, and I've seen him with Keith Carlock. But I tell you what, man, with Jeff, it had this whole other thing, which
Yeah, Jeff Sipe sounds like himself, 100%.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun trip. And it's at Smith's Old Bar, too. I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah. Did you play there? And anyone who lived in town?
I did. Played there. There was like a Count. You remember this guy, Count Mbutu?
Yeah.
Who played with ARU and with Derek Truck's original band.
Yeah.
It was his birthday, I think, or something. So it was like a lot of the ARU guys.
Okay.
I can't remember if Kofi was there, but I know O'Teal was there.
Okay.
And Colonel Bruce and Jeff and I think maybe Jeff Mosier or some of the other guys around that.
Yeah. I played with Kofi a couple of times years ago. And then, of course, knew about the Count through Matt and Mark Mundy.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So did you know, not to flip questions on you, but did you know Mark growing up, or did you grow up in the same area or something?
So it's funny. So Mark and I grew up near each other. But we only met each other about 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was crazy that we had never run into each other. And then I met him. He sat in with a band I was playing at one night, and we were like, wow, we've got to play some music together. And
cool.
He has a band called Across the Wide that I was in for about 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
And the day I went and kind of auditioned with them Matt was there. And I tell everyone I was more terrified about playing with Matt in the room than I was with the fact that I was playing with these guys. But Matt and I have become really good friends, and he's been on the podcast. I mean, he's just a sweetheart.
Oh my God, what a legend himself, man.
And what a legend, right? I mean, the first time I'd ever heard of him was I had seen him on the Bela, the first Tales from the Acoustic Planet album, and then went back and listened to all the stuff he had done with Bruce.
Yeah, two different sides of his playing.
Yes. And
So cool. It was the opposite for me. I heard the ARU live record first. And I used to listen to that when I woke up in high school. And I would wake up and I had a remote control for my CD player, and I would hit go. And track 4, I think, was Working on a Building with his intro. And I used to listen to that almost every day for a long time.
Man, just changed the course. That one of those people that just comes along and like redirects the path of an instrument, and he kind of did that.
Absolutely.
How did you meet Jeff?
In Knoxville, I played in a band. I think I was 19 when I met him, and I was in my second year of college, and I was playing in a band called Primordial Soup. And this band was huge. It was like 10 people with all these crazy instruments. But the premise was we would put a movie up on a projector behind us and then mute the audio, and we would turn and face the screen where we could see it. And the gig was completely improvisatory.
Really?
Improvised. Yeah, we had there were a couple of riffs that we would play from gig to gig. But so the drummer of that band, my friend Chad Melton, still one of my great friends today, he had known Jeff and had studied with him a little bit, and they had played a few gigs in the Dominican Republic together in a band called Modern Tongue Orchestra. And I was just in awe of that. I was like, holy shit, Jeff Sipe? Are you kidding me? And he called me one day and said, hey man, Jeff's going to come play with us at the Preservation Pub in Knoxville, on our Friday night gig or Saturday night gig or whatever. And we have a recording of it still. But I couldn't sleep, dude. I woke up that morning. I remember laying in bed that morning thinking, I've made it. I'm going to play with Jeff Sipe tonight. If I die here, if I die tomorrow, then this will have all been worth it. And I remember meeting him I went really early, and he was already there. And of course, you know how nice he is. But I walked up, Mr. Sipe, I'm Mike. It's really nice to meet you. And he said, just call me Jeff. But during that gig, I remember we took a set break, and I was just like, I couldn't take my eyes off Jeff Sipe. So I stayed there. I still had my guitar, and I just started playing something. And everyone else had gotten up and left, and Jeff was still at the drums, and he started playing along with me. And we jammed through the set break, and quietly, to not disturb anybody. But I knew that this was a special moment, so I wasn't going to get up. And he called me 6 months later and was like, hey, you want to do some more playing? And luckily I've been able to play with him for about 20 years now through that encounter.
And how did Taylor get into that group? Because and I'm a bass player, so I started out as a drummer, but moved over and became a bass player. And I'm in awe of his playing.
Oh, he's like Superman. It's crazy. Yeah, he was like that when he was a kid too. So we played in Wilmington, North Carolina, as part of our sort of Southeast regional road circuit that we would do. We'd go out for sometimes a week, but mostly we'd do 4 gigs in a row. So I think we played Asheville, Greenville, and then went out to Wilmington. And this bass player, this kid, high school kid, came to the show and asked. We had a great bass player in the beginning called Vince Alogan. He's brilliant too, and his wife plays with Daryl Scott.
Okay.
He's over in Knoxville, and he's played all kind of stuff. He's got a really cool career playing all kind of different music. But at first, it was Vince on the road with us, and Taylor came over to the place we were staying and took a lesson with Vince, and we heard him play and went, "Holy shit!"
Yeah.
And he had O'Teal's old bass. He had I don't know how, but he had become friends with O'Teal, probably by writing him a letter, or something.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with Jaco Pastorius and O'Teal Burbridge, and he studied with Steve Bailey.
There you go. Yeah,
he had all the things happening, and he could already play really great. And Jeff heard that. So I think it was within a couple years, Vince wasn't able to do some of the gigs. So that's when Taylor started.
Yeah.
Playing.
It's fun to hear. You guys are playing straight ahead stuff, but then, this deep playing, and then it's it can be like a chicken picking country thing can happen.
I'm the redneck of the group, but Jeff lets me bring that stuff in, which is fun.
Did you play a lot of country music growing up?
No, I didn't even really listen to it a lot. I listened to a lot of gospel because of my family. I would just hear my papa play and sing, and I learned Wildwood Flower and Just Because and all these kind of standard tunes you learn in that idiom.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't listening to Haggard or any of those things. But later I found out about you remember those old what are they called? Hot Licks videos?
Yeah.
The old VHS.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the one with James Burton.
Yes.
And I went, holy shit, who's this guy? And because I love how it starts. It's him in front of a guitar shop. He goes, my name's James Burton, and I invented chicken picking. And then it cuts to him playing. It's just so cool. So I got turned on to him. And then a friend in Knoxville turned me on to Jerry Reed, which I knew Jerry Reed as a kid, as the actor in the movie Waterboy. And of course, Eastbound and Down and stuff like that. But,
yes.
I just thought he was an actor. I had no idea he could play guitar like that.
That he played guitar like that. Yeah. I hear, and I don't know how much you've listened to him, but when I hear you play, I hear some Danny Gatton in there. I don't know if you listen to much.
Oh man, I do, and I'm not worthy of that. Thank you for saying, but I love his playing. And I'm actually getting back into him now more than I did probably when I was younger. Jeff Sipe was the one who turned me on to Danny Gatton early on. I was probably 19 or 20, and he said, "Have you heard Redneck Jazz?" And so I've gone through it. I love his playing. He's one of those guys. There's nobody like him. He's like an orchestra on guitar, and I love the piano aspect of his playing too. It's almost like the way he runs chords. It's just unique. So I love his playing. I want to steal a lot more from him in the future. So.
Yeah. So funny story. When I was growing up, my mom, she worked like the front counter at the post office in Alpharetta, Georgia. That's where I grew up.
Cool.
And this older lady would come in and mail stuff all the time. And she and my mom kind of struck up a friendship with each other. And she told her that my son plays and sings. And she's like, "Oh, my son plays too." And that's why I'm here. I'm mailing a lot of his CDs for people that are buying them. You should take some of these to your son. And it was Danny Gatton's mom.
Oh, get out, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. So she like brought me a bunch of CDs. And then funny enough, when I was in high school, one night I got to take Danny Gatton's daughter out on a date.
What?
I sure did. Yeah. So that is my claim to fame with Danny Gatton is that I got to go out on a date with his daughter.
Dude, he could have been your father-in-law.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
That would have been Thanksgiving would have been awesome, man.
It would have been awesome. He was a badass. And the stuff he did with Buddy Emmons to me is as good as it gets.
Totally. Unreal. Yeah. Speaking of, so through hearing that, getting to Buddy Emmons, then I got to hear this Mark O'Connor album called New Nashville Cats. And holy crap, Paul Franklin, yeah. Man. And of course, the elephant in the room on some of those tracks. Brent Mason, yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about, like 1990s country music, I mean, Brent Mason is basically on every song that was on the radio. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, totally. All the Alan Jackson stuff. See, and I heard Alan Jackson as a kid and was like, all right, that's cool. Which wasn't my thing. I was listening to ARU and Miles Davis and stuff. Mm-hmm. But now when I hear Alan Jackson records and I know it's Paul Franklin and Brent Mason on there, I listen a lot more closely. And of course, I actually do like that, a lot of that stuff. But yeah, there's just so many good players. It's hard to count them all, man. And I mean, Albert Lee and just going on, Johnny Highland. So yeah, so many.
Are you listening to any players that are kind of knocking you out these days? My guy is Julian Lage. I just can't get enough of Julian's playing.
I've been checking out his stuff too. I try and keep up with everything, but it's impossible. There's so many great new players right now. But I do through social media and YouTube and Spotify. I check if I see that Corey Wong has a new album out, I listen to it, or Mateo, I listen to it. Julian Lage, absolutely. I love the band he put together too, the trio with what's the guy from the Bad Plus on drums?
Dave King.
Yeah, I've been loving watching those guys play, and for me those are all really cool. And I'm always learning about somebody new that I hadn't checked out. Yeah.
Do you find that you listen, if you're going to listen to something, do you tend to listen to guitar players, or does it matter?
I mean, no. When I was a kid, I went through a phase where I was only listening to jazz for years, and if it wasn't that, I was, I was pretty style centric then, but I love it all too much now so I have Spotify does the Discover Weekly playlist. That playlist just draws from stuff that it thinks you like. So I end up learning of a lot of new musicians through that. I think it might have froze up again. Yep. Let's see. Hey, sorry, I don't know if you got me again. It's kind of been freezing up. Mic check.
Yeah, it's freezing up a little bit.
Can you hear me? Let me tap on this thing here and see if that doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries, man.
Hey, maybe that helped.
That's good. I think so.
A little duct tape fixes just about everything.
Have you heard about this? I don't know if you keep up with this, but have you seen any of these videos on YouTube about this guitar player? That. Yeah.
I didn't Giacomo or something. I can't remember his name.
Giacomo Tura, is that his name? I
went down the rabbit hole. I saw Beato's video. I like Rick Beato's channel.
Yeah.
I like seeing the interviews he does because he interviews everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
Almost like all of my heroes, it seems like, are on there. But I saw his short form video about it, and that was my first time hearing about it. I hadn't seen all the 3-week stuff prior to that. But, here's my take on it is a lot of people are miming their videos. They record it, get their best take, and then mime it. And if they're able to do that live, then I think it's okay. Yo-Yo Ma played a presidential inauguration that was mimed. There are bands that were forced to mime that didn't want to. And, while they were supposed to be singing, would eat something just to show the audience that this was being faked. So I think there's a lot going on there. But if you can't play the things you're purporting to be able to play, then that's a different scenario. But watching him play live, it's like it's there somewhere. I think maybe he can't do it cold, on a show or something. But then I saw a video that was showing that he had copied a lot of other people without crediting them, and so I think that that doesn't look good.
Yeah.
But,
well, it sheds some bad light on people that are trying to get their name out there through social media and doing it the right way. And, it makes everyone skeptical of if people are actually,
right. If they're going to be able to play the things that they're saying that they can play.
Yeah.
And, he's getting a lot of hell for this right now. And
it's bad.
As someone who built up a really strong career for himself, I feel kind of bad for him too, and hope he figures out whatever he has to figure out to make it work.
Yeah, I saw in the last week he's like removed his YouTube channel and everything. I mean, it's
he's getting guitar canceled, but hopefully he pulls through and finds something.
Yeah, hopefully he can come through it. But man, that's like the biggest news in the guitar world these days.
Yeah,
this poor dude. That's like,
that was surprising, right? It was like the record needle coming up. Like, whoa, huh? What is it? And when I saw Vieto's video, I was like, what is he talking about? And then I saw I was like, oh, I've seen this guy's videos. He's great,
Yeah, and for Rick to say like I couldn't even release the video.
That was the
biggest punch in the gut of the whole thing is him saying that. Yeah. So I for all of us that are still trying to to do it out there, I'm hopeful that people will learn from this and like you're saying, if you're the person playing on it and you're using the cut that you've actually done and you're trying to just get a good video performance of something that you've actually done yourself. That's one thing. Okay,
that's one thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what comes from that.
Take a second to plug my new project.
Yes.
I've got a record done in the can. So over 2 years, I've been putting this record together with my producer and brother-in-law, Tyler Bryant, who's a great, prolific player, songwriter, engineer, producer, everything. He's married to my wife's sister, but we've become good friends over the years. This guy, Tyler Bryant, he has a band called The Shakedown. He's producing records for Ruthie Foster. They just won a Grammy on the last one that she made. But he historically has had this rock band, and they would go out and open up for AC/DC. The first time I saw him play live, they were opening for AC/DC with Axl Rose singing in place of Brian Johnson or whoever. Mm-hmm. But, he would go out and open up for Jeff Beck when he was really young as a solo act and then play with Jeff during his set. And I think he was a teenager when he was doing that. So he's got this crazy track record of playing with all the greats. But he's been helping me make this record. We did it piecemeal as we were both on the road a lot. But we got probably 12 musicians on it or something like that. Keith Carlock played drums on a bunch of it. On some of it. This guy, Caleb Crosby, played drums. He's working with Kelsey Ballerini now and plays with Dolly Parton and all these different people. My friend Mark Rodabal played drums as well. The guy I was telling you about who plays with Sierra Hull. Do you know Greg Koch, the Koch Marshall Trio?
No, I don't.
Holy shit. Okay, just from our short conversation, I know that you're going to love this guy. Check out Greg Koch. It's Koch. He's not on my record, but his organ player, Toby Marshall, is. And I'm really proud to have him on there. Toby's incredible. They're out of Minneapolis, I believe. Man, Greg Koch is he's the GOAT. Speaking of new people that I've been obsessed with, he's one of them, man. He plays everything. He's got a real funky style. He's kind of coined his own comedic term for it called the Gristle. And their touring van is called the Gristle Missile. And he's just funny, man. He's funny. He's probably, I don't know if he's 50, 55 or what, but he's just a monster, dude. He's also 6'6" or something.
Wow.
And physical stature. But dude doesn't fool around, man. It's incredible. But his organ player, Toby Lee Marshall, brilliant player. He flew in tracks from Minneapolis. So lucky to have him.
Yeah.
And just a handful of other surprises on there. So I'm excited to get that out. And it's very much not a jazz record. It's more like Allman Brothers instrumental in some ways, with a little tint of fusion and a little of other stuff. But it's not, we haven't done any of the press or PR for it. In fact, I got to do the photo shoots later this week, but I just wanted to say it's on the horizon and I'm really excited for people to hear it.
I am so excited to get to hear that's that's going to be coming out, man. I can't. People are going to be so jazzed to get to hear you putting out your own project. That's so exciting.
Man, thanks a lot. It's like the first time doing it, so I'm making every mistake you can make, but I'm excited to get it out there. So.
What have you taken away from the experience of doing it? Has it been a learning experience in that?
Yeah, totally. So I've been a sideman for 20 years, and there's a lot that you can take for granted with that. Don't get me wrong, it's like such a separate job role from a band leader. Yeah. I've never really been a band leader. It made me appreciate all of the background work that band leaders have to do all the time. It's just never ending. So, and it's in a way, sideman work is plenty difficult, but you kind of just go along on the track and you're not steering the car as much, Right. And then you even on the small pittance of stuff that I've done with making this record, it pales in comparison to the true dedication that a real band leader is doing all the time. So yeah, my hat's off to the artists out there who are making it.
Well, it probably changes your mindset too about being a sideman now,
big time. Yeah. I really, and I feel like I've served the people I've worked for well, and they keep calling me back. So I feel like that's been good, but I have a new appreciation for their world now.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I am so excited to hear that you have a new project.
Thanks, man.
Recorded and ready to come out. Are you going to release it everywhere? Are you going to release it?
Yeah, we're going to print vinyl and CD. CD's coming back a little bit right now, which I love. And man, down the road, I want to try and do some cassette too.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
Some of it really is coming back, but I think people are interested in the fidelity of those mediums again. Yes, we'll do vinyl, CD, and the guy's updating my website. The last news update on my website is from 2018 when I taught at the first Tommy Emmanuel guitar camp that I did. And I get an email from somebody every once in a while like, hey, you might want to think about updating. All I do is I've been paying the domain name so it doesn't go away. But now there's a professional who will go in and make an online store and integrate all this stuff. I'm gonna push it uphill as much as I can. My goal with it is to be able to book some stuff under my own name and still be able to do sideman work, but have something else that can happen too. My 10-year goal is to be on Beato's channel once and to play at a jazz festival under my own name, like maybe Newport or one of the big ones.
I think that's a totally achievable goal. Who's the guy? Is it Rhett
Scholl?
Rhett, you have one of my favorite videos on his channel is about you. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah.
Man, thanks a lot. Yeah, I saw it. He's friends with my brother-in-law, Tyler, and he came to that show where the footage some of it came from. And I met him that night, but I didn't know that he was making a video. And I was out on the road and my wife was with me and she goes, hey, did you see this? So I was really excited for that. I don't deserve any of what he said about me, but I was excited that he did it.
I appreciate you being so humble about it, but no, I totally agree. And I'm like, yeah, I've been hearing about this guy for as long as, since Mark told me about you. And I'm like, yeah, as many people in the world need to know about what Mike Seal is doing because it's really special, man, the way you play.
Well, thanks a lot, Brad. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me on your show. And really thrilled to be here. Well, thanks again, Brad. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Best of luck to you.